Ari Lewis Show.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports and News Radio. Thank you for joining us. At any time, you can email the program at arilewishow@hotmail.com, or you can email the station Israel Sports and News Radio at gmail.com. Passover is set to take place on Friday night, April 22nd. A lot of things going around town here in Jerusalem. And on the line right now, the founder of IsraelKorg. Back to the program, Benjy Singer. Benjy, how are you doing out there?
How you doing, Ari? Great birthday party last Motzei Shabbat. Happy birthday again.
Thank you very much, and thank you for coming. It was a nice party indeed. And we translate that because I was born to Shabbat Gadol into Pesach. And first, there's a lot of different shirim out there, a lot of different messages of what Pesach is. Give us your take on it. What do you feel is the message of Pesach?
Well, that's an interesting question, Ari. I actually think there are three different ways we can approach the question of what the message of Pesach is. The first is a way that Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, the ex-chief rabbi of the Commonwealth, used to speak about. He used to speak about one message of Pesach as we have to care about minorities, because we were a minority in Egypt, and we've come out of Egypt, and therefore we have to look after the minorities, people on the brims of society, the physically and mentally ill, the unemployed, the weak, the people unable to defend themselves. Another message of Pesach is really we have to appreciate our freedom, our chirut. And the famous rabbi in America, Rabbi Yosef Dov Soloveitchik, spoke about a slave is bound to his master, but a free person is able to make his own decisions. And one of his main decision would be to bound himself to a community based on chesed, on loving kindness. And Rav Kook, another famous rabbi, talks about freedom. He says that a slave is dependent on others, not so much physically, but psychologically and emotionally. But a free person, he's independent. He doesn't need to always look for other people's approval, and his self-esteem and self-worth comes from within. And a third way of understanding the message of Pesach is a more Hasidic way. And the Sfat Emet, a famous Hasidic master, talks about how Mitzrayim is really on an individual level where everyone is in their own Mitzar. Everyone is like in the siege themselves. And through Pesach, we can learn how to get out of that being besieged, and we can be ourselves, and everything that holds us back, whatever it is, we can break free from that and become independent. So the message of Pesach, I think, is threefold. It's firstly feeling sorry for minorities, people on the brim of society. Secondly, it's appreciating our freedom. And thirdly, on a more individual level, it's about breaking out of our meitzar, breaking out of what keeps us in, and really becoming independent and becoming who we can become.
All right, well said. And of course, a lot of different great ideas that are floating regarding Pesach. People should keep learning about it, because obviously it's really the beginning of the Jewish people. What do you think is the purpose of the Seder night in particular?
Right, that's another interesting question. Also, I think there are three ways of approaching that question. The first is that we're celebrating faith. We're celebrating God's protection. We know the famous Shweki song, V'hisha Amda, okay? We're celebrating the fact that Hashem brought us out of Egypt. And it's also known as Leil Shimurim, the night of divine protection and Hashgacha. So the first purpose of the Seder night is to celebrate God's protection and how God look after us. The second purpose of the Leil HaSeder is actually to remind us of temple times. Because in temple times, the central feature of the Leil HaSeder was the Korban Pesach. And the Netziv actually says when we sit around the white, like the clothing he wore on Yom Kippur in the Kodesh Kodashim, in the Holy of Holies. And the third purpose of the Seder night is educational. It's supposed to be an educational experience where, we ask questions, we give answers. A lot of the things we do on the Seder night, for instance, we dip, we lean, we do that to encourage people, to provoke the children to ask questions. And the whole structure of the Leil HaSeder, the Haggadah, as Rav Yossi Imon speaks about, is question, answer. We ask a question, and the Haggadah tells us the story to answer the question. So again, a threefold answer to that question of the purpose of the Seder night. The first is to celebrate faith, to celebrate God's protection of the Jewish people, bring us out of Egypt. The second purpose of the Seder night is to relive what happened in temple times with the Korban Pesach. And the third purpose of the Seder night is an educational experience, where children ask questions and we give the answer via stories.
All right, again, this is the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports News Radio. My guest is Benjy Singer. He is the founder of IsraelKorg. You know, what's interesting, Benjy, is this year, like a few years actually recently, Pesach is going to begin on Friday night, and generally Ashkenazim do not say Shir HaShirim on Friday night, the Sephardim do, but on the Seder night we do say Shir HaShirim. Why is that?
Right. Well, actually, if you look at my website, IsraelKorg, I wrote an article last night about Shir HaShirim and Pesach. And what I was trying to explain was the following, that Pesach, as I've said, was based around the Korban Pesach, the sacrifice, okay? Now, the Korban Pesach was eaten in families, in groups, okay? Now, that was very safe, very secure. You ate in your home with your family. And if you look on the narrative level of Shir HaShirim, it's the opposite. You have the Ra'aya and the Dod. The Ra'aya is the woman running around looking for her beloved. The Raya has no family. She's not in a group. She's not in a collective group. And I think the reason why we read Shir HaShirim on Seder night is we feel this contrast. On the one hand, between in temple times when they sacrificed and ate the Korban Pesach together in their families, in their homes, in the security, in the predictable environment of their homes. In stark contrast, the Shir HaShirim story, where the Ra'aya, where the woman is running around the streets, the corners of the streets, looking for her beloved. And I think that contrast, again, it makes us feel the need for chesed. And as I said initially, Rabbi Yosef Ber Soloveitchik, the famous rabbi in America, he sees the whole purpose of coming out of Mitzrayim, coming out of Egypt, as giving us the opportunity of doing chesed, doing loving kindness, of creating a community based on chesed. And the Shir HaShirim story teaches us again, makes us very sensitive to the need of chesed, the needs of looking out for people who are by themselves, who are lonely, who need help. And I think this contrast between the Korban Pesach, which was eaten in families, in homes, it's stark contrast to this woman, the Ra'aya in the Shir HaShirim narrative, who's by herself. I think of that contrast, when we feel the contrast between, again, the Korban Pesach and the Shir HaShirim story, that shows us the importance of doing chesed, which is really what Rabbi Soloveitchik says is the purpose of Yetziat Mitzrayim, and to become free is to be able to do chesed, to do acts of loving kindness, to help others.
All right, and another interesting aspect of Pesach is different customs and different halachot among different groups of people, Ashkenazim and Sephardim, especially the Kitniot issue. Last year there was a Shemitah issue. So what are some of the laws relating to Pesach that you've written about on your website, IsraelKorg?
Right, that's an interesting question. As you've said, Pesach isn't an easy festival because there are so many laws we have to worry about. So firstly, Kitniot. So there were two problems with Kitniot. First, in ancient times, they were worried that you would actually make bread with Kitniot, but that's not such a problem. The other problem is they were concerned you would grow Kitniot with actual chametz. And as a result, they were concerned that you would be unable to distinguish between Kitniot and actual chametz, and you would eat Kitniot. Now, just to clarify it, nowadays, I know people have been writing on Facebook and people have been posting articles on Facebook. Just to clarify, for Ashkenazim, now, still, it's forbidden to eat Kitniot, but derivatives, many people say it's permitted to eat derivatives of Kitniot. And the other question with regards to Kitniot is, if you're Ashkenaz and you're invited to a Sephardi home, are you allowed to eat in the home? And the basic answer is, I think you can. However, you have to be careful. You can't eat mamash. You can't eat literally Kitniot. In other words, if you're served meat and potatoes and chicken, you can eat the meat and potatoes and chicken on the plate. But if there's Kitniot on the plate, if there's rice and beans and peas on the plate, you can't eat those. But again, you've got to be sensitive. You can't hurt the feelings of the people who invited you on the other hand. So you have to weigh that. So certainly, if Sephardi members of your family who are Sephardi or close friends who are Sephardi, they've invited you for a meal on Pesach, you can't offend them by not coming, but you've got to be careful not to eat Kitniot. And the second very interesting question is about Shemitah, you've correctly said. Now, there's one with regard to wine, okay? There's a mitzvah still to eat wine that has Kedushat Shvi'it. Now, what we have to do is, though, there's also a mitzvah to make the wine ownerless on Erev Pesach, okay, which is tomorrow morning. So what you do is, practically, Ari, if you've got some Kedushat Shvi'it wine, tomorrow you have to sit with 3 friends of yours. You have to make it ownerless by just saying, hey guys, I'm making this wine ownerless. However, then you reacquire it, okay, straight after that. And then you can use the Kedushat Shvi'it wine for your Seder, because it's a mitzvah to drink Kedushat Shvi'it wine. Just one point you have to be careful of. when we dip, we can't waste any wine that has Klushat Shvi'it. So when we dip our finger into our becher, into the glass that has the wine, dam, tzvadei akinim, you cannot use Klushat Shvi'it wine for that. You have to use other non-Klushat Shvi'it wine. But again, that's the basic overview of the halachot of Kitniot and Shemitah for this Pesach. Again, it's complicated, but that's the bottom line.
All right, again, this is the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports and News Radio. My guest is Benjy Singer. He is the founder of IsraelKorg. And last question for you, Benjy. Of course, your website talks about all the things going on in Jerusalem. So what are the things that are going to be occurring over Pesach?
So I recommend you look at IsraelKorg. It's one of the featured posts is a listing of what's happening in Israel 2016 for Pesach. Also, if you look at my Facebook groups, the IsraelKorg Community News, the IsraelKorg Zibuk Zone, the IsraelKorg Merakaz group, and also the IsraelKorg Bet Midrash group, I've pinned the post of the listing of what's happening throughout Israel over Pesach there. Just a few things then. Firstly, Birkat Kohanim. Birkat Kohanim, it's well worth going. It's this Monday morning. There are two. There's Birkat Kohanim during Shacharit, Birkat Kohanim during Musaf. Now, secondly, on Thursday in Tel Aviv, there are many activities, arts, crafts, things related to Pesach going on there. It's Thursday. Also, I've also got links to scavenger hunts, very fun scavenger hunts run by Tali Talo in Jerusalem. You'll find information on the listing. Deborah Dixon and Joanna Shebson. Joanna Shebson, again, she runs the Fun in Jerusalem, which is mainly the events for families, and Deborah Dixon, she does listings of what's happening for families again throughout Israel. I've quoted what they've been saying that's going on. Also, just one thing, Hannah Kahn from Gift, she's got some interesting chesed programs going on over Chol HaMoed, and they've arranged some type of countdown to Shavuot, where each day you can do an act of kindness, an act of chesed, just to connect Pesach to Shavuot. So there's plenty going on over Pesach, both on Chag, and one other thing is that the first day of Chag, Rav Goldvicht from Yeshiva University is giving his shir in Rechavia, in Choyev Rechavia. You'll find the details again on IsraelKorg. Again, everything going on. There are lists and things of great things going on in Jerusalem, in Tel Aviv, and throughout Israel. You'll find the information on IsraelKorg. Just a final thought, Ari, just to bear in mind. We greet everyone, Chag Kasher v'Sameach. And I heard a lovely idea that kasher and sameach often conflict. When we talk about Chag Kasher, kasher means a kosher Pesach. In other words, we take a lot of time cleaning and making sure we eat the right amount of matzah and maror. But on the other hand, we can't forget about the sameach part of Pesach. We've got to be happy. We've got to enjoy being with our family and friends. We've got to go outside. And we've got to enjoy everything that Israel has to offer us. So just a final message for everyone is, while you're worrying about the Chag Kasher, the kasher aspect of Pesach, of cleaning, of lining your shelves, of making sure we're eating the correct amount of matzah, etc., you've also got to focus on the sameach part of Pesach, of enjoying yourself, of relaxing, of having a good time, because there's so many things going on in Pesach that we can do. Make sure we all take advantage of them.
Well said. And again, another episode of the Ari Lewis Show here at Israel Sports News Radio. My guest is Benjy Singer, founder of IsraelKorg. Everyone could check out his website again, IsraelKorg. Benjy, thank you for being on the program today.
Great. Chag Kasher v'Sameach.
To you as well, my friend. Be well.